So let's start off with some wins. What do we got? Who got some wins? Some ahas.
Rental lease closed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's a plus.
Mm-hmm. Congrats.
I have one pre-approved buyer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Excuse us. That's awesome. That's awesome. Great win. Great win. What else we got? What else? Anyone? Any ahas? Anything personal? Anything me time? Anything?
It's hot.
It's hot. I love deep. It's hot. Yeah, it is. It's pool time.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it looks like Arnold just got out of the pool with the towel.
Right.
Okay. So anyone, if no one else, we'll get started. So this is one of my favorite games in the whole wide world. It's called What is the Best Offer? Now, how does this relate to real estate? Well, first of all, if we're, our goal is the summer, the listing push for the summer, right? So right now, the market is it was crazy hot. January, it slowed down, and then it went hot. Then you got multiple offers all under list price, and now it's slow, and now it's creeping up warm again. It literally is like this. So some of these scenarios may be true, because part of what is the best offer in a situation is we have to look at market trends, right? So as listing agents that we all want to be, great listing agents, as a buyer's agent now, right? So we want to be able to see, well, what would be a type of offer that would win? So there's Brother Chase. So let's get into it. And I know Chase is going to kill me because he usually likes to do these. So here's the first scenario. I'm like a little kid. Sorry. I'll stop. Angela's like, I leave. I quit. Okay, here we go. First scenario. Arnold has a listing as 600. I got close to the camera.
I guess.
A $600,000 listing. The average days on the market is 15. We're at currently, they ain't got glasses on. Arnold, this is your listing. You should know this. And the current days on the market are at 15. Condition of the house is reasonable wear and tear, but it has some older, HVAC and water heater, and it has a 20-year-old roof. The market trend is warm, but the seller, Arnold's seller, is not in a rush, and they don't want to counter. But there's 4 offers in hand, and the deadline is at 9 p.m. tonight. Can you guys see that? Okay, or do I need to make the screen bigger?
That was good. Well,
Okay.
I'm good.
So here are the offers that came in.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, it's your listing. Of course you can.
Okay, how this is going to sound a little simple, but I need to nail this down.
Yes.
How did I come to this 4 offers? Because let's say I got the first offer last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
7 days ago. And okay, I'm reviewing the offer, reviewing the paperwork. I haven't, the seller has not decided yet for whatever reason, conditions, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got another offer.
Mm-hmm.
So got another offer 5 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then the seller said, "Ooh, let's take that one," right? I want to do this now. Let's ratify.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to hold off? Do we want to tell the seller, "Hey, the market is hot. Let's see if we get more offers, and then we could create a deadline"? Is that something that we generate?
That's a great question. Generally, there is a reasonable amount of time that the seller should give a response by. Whether the response is there's a deadline or whether the response is yes, no, counter, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. Generally, do you have a question real quick?
Oh, no, I was just... Is my mic on? Yeah. I was just going to say that I was gonna vote on which one I pick.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go through that. Dang, she already got the answer. Okay, so first, she's already ready to go. So the first answer, so the market trend is warming up, right? So it went from a cool to warm. Seller is not really in a rush, and the seller is not looking to counter any specific offers, right? They're just, again, let's just all hypothetical. They're just saying, I'm gonna take highest and best. The deadline is tonight. These are the offers we have, right? So, and I can't even read it. So we have a $600,000 FHA. Void only home inspection, right? Regular financing and appraisal in a 30-day close. That's offer number one. Second offer, 610 VA asking for $5,000 in subsidy, a full home inspection, regular financing and appraisal 30 days. Then I think that says $595 conventional, waiving home inspection, regular financing and appraisal 21-day close. Then we have a $600,000 VA home inspection or waiving home inspection, regular financing, 60-day close. So, or the option is, should they continue on the market? So let's talk to this together. What do you guys say? What should we eliminate first? That doesn't make sense, and I can't even see it. Oh my gosh. Is there one that stands out there like, don't even entertain? You got to present, but don't even entertain.
I think the one for 610.
610, 5,000 subsidy, full home inspection.
That's also a VA.
So VA. So let's hear the thought process of that one. I think it was Dwayne that said it.
Well, the reason I said it is because you got a 10-year-old HVAC and water heater and a 20-year-old roof. Those things is, is ready to replace them. And if you go through this full home inspection, and obviously that's something that you see, you like, are you going to replace that, And the seller is, like you said, not in a rush, and then whatever the case may be. So I think if you go through that full home inspection and you asking for $5,000 in subsidy, the seller going to kind of be like, because you got this 10-year-old HVAC and 20-year-old roof.
So they're going to be more inclined, you said, to nitpick because it's the only one with a full.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Oh. What else? What else, you guys? It's a good thought process.
I can probably tell you why I picked the one I picked.
So would you agree with Dwayne eliminating that one, or is that the one you picked?
No, I would eliminate that one. No, that was eliminated.
Okay,
For
dang.
sure.
So
For sure.
angry. Okay.
No.
Okay. So you want to tell me which one would you pick then? We can go into that.
I would have picked, now this may be controversial. I would have picked the 595 conventional.
Controversial.
Waive home inspection, regular financing, 21-day close. This is why. 5 day, you're looking at, one is conventional, so you're not going to run into, because they say no home inspection, right, on the VA and the FHA. But FHA has a built-in home inspection.
Well, the appraisal you're saying? The appraisal? The appraisal is different, right?
Right. The appraisal looks differently, and so they're going to have some hurdles you still have to meet, even because it's FHA, even if you do try to waive the home inspection. So VA has some built-in pieces, and so does FHA. They still got to be up to their standards, so those would have to go. So then 21-day close, 60-day close, that's a no. They playing. Too much can happen in 60 days.
Too much can happen in 60 days.
Yeah, 21 days. You're talking about $5,000 in the whole extra month of, yeah. I don't know. I would go with the 595 conventional 21-day close. It just because I feel like the conventional is probably gonna be the tightest financing. They've already rated the home inspection. 21-day close, they ready to roll. They got the money in the bank and they ready to go.
I love the thought process. What else? What else we got? Everyone else agree with her? Or anyone disagree?
Isn't FHA? Don't they impose a mandatory home inspection when you go FHA? No.
No loan requires a home inspection. They're all the A's, FHA, USDA, VA require in their appraisal a HUD inspection, but that's basic safety. Like, does the stoves turn on? Is there water? It's not like a home inspector that looks at every GFC.
They are more stringent
Yes.
So if you've got like a deck that's in a little bit of disrepair, meaning it's got chipped paint, VA and FHA are going to call for you to repaint that deck. And so,
yes,
yeah, true, it's all safety, but it can be a headache.
it is. Yeah, we had one at the railing. It was like a retaining wall for like a deck, and the railing it was like 2 inches higher, and it was like VA wall, and you need a railing there. HUD guidelines. So yes, they do look at more HUD guidelines, but it's not as invasive as a home inspection. Love Deep Chase.
Yeah, I agree with Angela. I would pick the 595 conventional, home inspections waive, regular financing, appraisal. The other three, appraisal could be an issue depending on who's appraising it. The 60 days too long, and
60 days,
and then the seller wants to move out. He wants to, doesn't want to wait 2 months, and then the appraisal could change in 60 days too. Like it could go lower or higher, and then FHA VA, like you said earlier, there's lender required repairs that could come into play. So the conventional one, even though it's a little bit cheaper or a little bit lower in price, it's the best bet for the seller to get to closing.
Gotcha. Okay, Chase, any thoughts, Sir Chase?
Yeah, yes. So, yeah, the first one I eliminated was the VA one. Just like get out of here.
Wow, that's
yeah.
Which one?
Wait, which VA?
The six. Well, honestly, both.
Someone hates veterans.
Especially the full home inspection one. So, but and then the 6-day close, like those were me. It was just like in the trash. Like, then it really did. Yeah, went between the FHA and the conventional, but the conventional. I mean, I agree with the lot that the conventional one's the least risky. The FHA one's a good offer. Like it's a great offer, but yeah, it's not as good. Even though it's a little bit more. If the Uncle Sam appraisers, having more expensive than that $5K. So.
Okay, so you guys all agree 3 is the best. You guys. I'll tell you my thoughts. Okay.
I think it could go either way between 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Yeah, because there's a tiny bit more cash on the table for FHA, and so I think it comes down to the team, meaning the agent, and my seller's confidence in the condition of the home and being able to pass inspection. So if we look at the house and say, well, the house is in decent shape, it's unless 20 years old flat out is gonna cause issues. I mean, if it looks bad, then yeah, I would go with conventional if the roof looks really bad. But if it still looks in decent condition, and some 20-year-old roofs still look okay.
So I love that point, and I want to hear your thoughts on that, Thomas, because it's true. What if it is a good buyer that doesn't play Thomas's favorite game, avoid only, but I ask for repairs? You like how I did that, Thomas? What if they're, and it's only 9 days. I mean, 9 days and prepaids are probably not a lot. Prorations, is it 5,000? Is it worth it? What are your thoughts, Thomas? Because I know he's had this happen a lot. Sorry, brother.
I mean, well, it seems like it's the game to play now is to ask for a void only and then come back and ask for repairs. But I would counter back on the FHA and see if they would go 10K higher and say, look, we've got a conventional on the table that's doing 21 days. That's a much more solid bet for us. So, would you be willing to go up to 610 or 650? and then that might make it a lot sweeter of a deal. You did
Arnold-
mention in the context of all of this that the seller is not in any rush. So maybe the 21-day close is not a big deal to them.
Mhm.
They're fine with a 30-day close if they're getting more. Offer is the $595 because it's the least
Someone paid it, but I already muffed it.
risky, but I
think we're losing them.
would
You're
100%
driving out
try to pump up the numbers a little bit, especially if I
Well,
knew
so
that he
Thomas-
wasn't in a rush.
So he's doing the hardcore thing. In this,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
you
you're
can't
good, brother. So
hear
in this part, in this scenario, there is no counter. So, but I do understand you can legally that this is in this scenario, but legally you can counter one while you have multiple. In this scenario, there was no counters. Sorry.
Yeah, I still think 595 is
And that's a
best
great
offer.
point. I hear a little Lukey in the background. I think that's a great point. I think Arnold and
Yeah.
Thomas, it is really ultimately the seller's risk, right? And you guys make a great point. We all know because any contingency is just a way for a buyer to possibly get out. So if we can remove that, then there is no issue other than financing. Is the $5,000, and like a great point, the seller is not in a rush. Is that $5,000 worth it when, especially if you're of a good listing agent, maybe they did a pre-listing inspection, even though we all know inspectors are different, right? Is it worth the risk of that? So that is a great point. I think I can see number 1 and number 3 being a top contender, and I think it does depend on that. But you see how looking at different perspectives, how each agent had a different perspective. We all agree those two, but when throwing in what Arnold said, that's a great point. There may be an agent or a seller that says that same thing. It's like, look, I waived home inspection, but we went one with 5,000 because the seller said the money is worth the risk for them. So that's good to have. Okay, you guys like next one? You guys ready? All right, let's get it. Oh, this is Ivan's not even here. So I just used random. Ivan's listing. You notice all prices are all high, by the way. $800,000 listing. Average days on the market is 3 days. So what does that mean?
It's about to sell.
It's about to sell. We're at 1 day. 15-year-old HVAC and water heater. 25-year-old roof. Doesn't mean anything. It's just inspector, The market trend is super, super hot. Not super hot, just hot. The seller wants to ratify no counters, Thomas. No counters, and he's choosing highest and best. There's 4 offers, and the deadline already passed. Here are the offers. Can you guys see that? Do you want me to read it out loud? Does anyone want me to read it out loud?
Highest and best.
Don't laugh at number 2.
Yeah, read it.
Read it out. Read it out loud.
Okay, 820. First offer, 825. FHA, waive home inspection, regular financing and appraisal, 21-day close. Second offer, $1 million, conventional, waive home inspection, regular financing and appraisal, 21 days. Third offer, $900,000, VA, waive home inspection, $10,000 appraisal gap, financial contingency, 30-day close. Last offer, $815 cash, avoid only home inspection, 20-day closing. Any of them that you want to eliminate, be like, get the head out of here. Get out of here. You got to do the Jersey thing, right, Arnold? Get out of here. Love Deep. Anyone you want to remove right away? It's not even worth you sending a response back. I'm kidding. Don't do that. We're at 8. It's
What
at
is
800,000.
what is a 10,000 appraisal gap? So if it appraises at 890, it's still okay?
Yeah, so the sellers or the buyer is saying, look, if I'm going to offer you 900, but if it appraises at 840, I'm going to pay you 10,000 more on top. and to up to 900,000. So if it's appraised at 840, then the real value is 850. We call those COVID. Remember those days, James? The COVID addendums on the side. Oh,
Okay,
God, verify everything with the lender that they have fun stuff like that. And for those who know or may not know, even though with any USDA, VA, VA notice of value, the mandatory clause for FHA and for USDA, you can still waive appraisal or do an appraisal gap. You just can't lock in the buyer to not wait. The buyer always has the right to walk away. Well, the challenge is if I tell a listing agent, hey, look, even if it appraises, there is no option to say that. So you have to do like an addendum on the side. Right? We call those, we used to do those a lot during COVID. And that was Angie's favorite back in the day. Because I know some people are like, well, it's a government. You can do that. It's just if you say, oh, if it appraises low, they'll still pay. That don't mean anything until it's in writing. Anything that we want to get rid of. This is a thinker, huh? On a nice holiday Thursday. Chase?
So
there he is.
The one thing that I would actually probably get rid of is the $1 million one. Because in this is a scenario that we can't counter because I don't think it would appraise at that. And there's no appraisal gaps. There's nothing. That would be honestly the first one I would eliminate, assuming, we're not countering in these scenarios.
Everyone agree?
Yeah, I was looking at that 1 million, no appraisal gap, and like you said, you can't counter. So I was stuck. I was like, well, it's nothing I can do with that. I mean, they went way far. I like the strength of the 900 with the gap because you're gonna get 10 over whatever.
Yeah, crazy Chase. No, I'm listening.
I don't know that I would waive the $1 million.
Oh,
and to be honest with you, I don't know any sellers who are going to be like, yeah, let's just drop that off the table. It's hard when a seller sees that type of money come across.
True.
You know what I mean?
So you say $1 million.
Yeah, but how do you sell that to the seller? How do you tell the seller, oh, no problem, it'll appraise at 1 million? I
wouldn't say that at all.
Listed at 800,000 if it would appraise at 1 million.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that at all. But I think you're looking at a market that's hot.
Oh, probably.
Like when it's super hot, appraisers are churning them through. So yeah, it might not appraise at 1 million, but if these people are putting in an offer at 1 million and they've got money like that, then maybe I can down and it's still going to be way higher than any of the other ones, right? Or maybe they've got extra cash to be able to cover the difference. I don't know. We didn't really go over that in the context, but that would be the first thing that I would ask. And I know there's no counters, but first thing I'd be saying is, hey, let's waive the appraisal.
I know. So, and that's a great point. I know Thomas is always going like, I love that. I love that mindset, right? So is it possible though? Like, wait, let's talk about it. And that what Thomas said, we know appraisers have to understand the market. They have to understand that there's multiple offers. They give an allowance. Just because the comp says 800, they're not going to be like, oh, no, nothing above it. They usually give a tolerance of above list price. Do we know roughly what it would be? Do we have an idea of? I mean, they usually can give what? How usually above would a appraiser give a tolerance? Meaning, if these are all multiple offers above asking, they have to have an allowance above list price. Do you guys usually know what do you guys usually see out there? 15, 20, 25, 30. I've seen one as high as 80,000 above, but is that a risk? Like, can the 1 million appraise at 850? But what if it doesn't? Is it still the best offer?
Yeah.
No, if it appraises at 850, is then it's not the best because you got a 10 gap on a 900. But like Thomas said, with the 1 million conventional, I mean, it elevates the value in the appraiser's mind, whether they know it or not. You know, like man,
Whether
you
they
know,
know
like
it or not.
it's an influencer. The fact that
But
somebody,
is that-
I think it
No,
will impact how they appraise it. Like
1,000%. But what if it doesn't? Then is that the more secure best deal?
I mean, I have to think about it this way. If Ivan is running the comps well, which we are assuming that he is, and he's running it and saying, "Hey, it's a hot market. 800 is where we come in," right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if that's, "Hey, let's price it aggressively because we actually know it's worth 900. We want to get more offers in the door." But I can tell you this. The agent, we also have to assume the agent who's writing this $1 million offer knows his clients, and he also knows the market, and he's going to tell his clients if it's not worth 800. So his clients aren't going to go in with financing and put an offer in on something for $1 million if they didn't really want it and they didn't really have the money to get it, because that agent should be telling them, look, if you don't have the money, this doesn't make sense because the appraiser is going to come back low and then we're going to be out of a deal. So I would have to assume that if the agent is letting his clients write an offer for $1 million and it's a hot market, they probably have some cash.
Or is it the total opposite, and that agent doesn't know a thing?
I mean, it could be. You tell me. I don't, you know.
No, but that's exactly. Let's say we don't have that information, right? No, because that is a great point. What if they say, like, you know, so based on what we see at face value, right? Because that is a great point. What, you know, if it's like, hey, look, maybe they'll say like, oh no, here they forgot to check the Wave Financial or Wave Appraisal. But in this face value, could it be an agent that doesn't know what they're doing, right? So again, this is part of that risk reward. What is one that is probably, you know, gonna be the best, less risky for the seller, that still yields the fastest closing, the best contingent terms, and the most money, right? Which is our goal. Lovedeep, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually like Thomas's thought point about the conventional one, because, you know, I might consider that, because if it doesn't appraise to $1 million, it could still be what, 900, you know, 950, or even still above this 815 cash. Now, it really also depends on what the seller wants. Does he want something secure? Does he want something ready to go? Or without, you know, and then that go for the 815 cash. So at the end of the day, you know, sellers gonna choose the sellers what they want. The second option, the 900K option, was also not bad either, because it has a appraisal gap. And, you know, when you guys are talking about if it's a hot market, appraisals tend to be a bit higher, and I've seen that for sure. So, you know, my, I guess, first option would be, and you know, it's with the comps. If it's at 800, you know, is that what's the comps really is, or like, you know, maybe
let's say
it's comps.
It's comps. It's priced for the market. Let's assume that.
Okay.
That's why we, you know, let's say we got that. So it's not really worth 950, and he's listening. He's not doing one of those. It's really priced for that market.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely take a look at the conventional and
the 1 million.
The 1 million. If I can get more than 800, even, you know, but I think I would also have to educate the seller, be like, hey, if this isn't appraised even close to $1 million, like, you can still get out of it. So
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So yeah, it is. I mean, and you have the market is on your side, that it's very high. So I'm curious, why is the last one cash?
No. Sorry. I just changed my mind. The second one would be cash, and the third one would be the VA.
Okay, so first one $1 million. The
second one is the cash,
and
because that's just more secure and was closer to price, and, you know, again, it's still going to be dependent on how the seller wants to move forward.
Yeah, I think if and I'm gonna just add my 2 cents as always. I think number one is probably not the best, just because it could be as similar as it could be. It ends up being where it praises at 800 to 825, but then there's still other things, so it doesn't make sense. There's not enough skin financially to make sense in terms of the terms. I think the million is one of those where I think it's like let's see what the eyes of the appraiser can be. I think the risk though, it could be like, what if it appraises at 800? What if it's one of those appraisers? And you know how the challenge is when you're doing what is it called? The R word. Not a recommendation. When you try to appeal, no, there's a term, reconsideration. What if it appraises at 805 and there's no, okay, well, is it worth the risk in the market? Maybe, right? What if the 900 though appraises, let's assume it appraises, they all appraise at the list price. Then with the 900, at least you'll get a $10,000 gap, right? What if it does appraise at at 830? Well, then you get, and that's the challenge, is because that conventional appraiser is going to be different from the VA appraiser. What if it's just the most secure is 815 cash no matter what? They're taking 815 home. It's a interesting thing. I mean, there is nothing. 815 cash is 815 cash. There's no other than avoid only. That is probably the most secured above asking. What else are you guys thinking?
I'm just trying to figure out how are you ever going, if the goal is to get the highest best, how are you ever going to get more money on the 1 million conventional than you would on the, they would have to appraise for over.
That's a good
how are you
point.
ever going to get more money on the convention, on a 1 million conventional than you are on a 900 VA? How are you going to get more?
You would have to, go ahead, Aaron, go ahead.
I think I think Thomas may have addressed it. I'm not sure, but the first thing, the first thing I would do is you say there's no way that house is going to appraise for 1 million, because I know Ivan. He's no dummy. He's not going to put a house on the market for 800,000 if it's going to appraise for even 900, let alone 1 million. So the first thing you want to do is you can run your own comps and determine, hey, there's no way this house is going to appraise, just to confirm it at 1 million. And then you talk to the buyer's agent and say, oh, okay, well, what kind of cash is on hand, and can we waive the appraisal to cover the gap? And if they can do that, then you're in business.
If possible, right? In that situation. And again, it's based on that. How I look at it are all the terms, we agreed all the terms are similar in terms of inspection, financing, the days, all that similar. How I look at it is, what is the best offer if one were to appraise at 800,000? Because that's the only thing that I probably know for sure they shouldn't. The appraiser is not going to say it appraises less, but what if they say it appraises at 800,000?
The cash?
Probably the cash, or at least something that incentivizes maybe the $10,000 gap. The gap in the cash is an incentive to say, if it does appraise lower, at least you're going to get more. Where the other ones, regardless of how high it is, once it's appraised, it's appraised. And I think that's the risk. And what Thomas is saying is the appraiser probably like 1 million. Yeah, we're going to look, but that's still a risk that we're waiting to see if the appraiser will say that. So if we say, look, worst case scenario, either if you're wanting the safest route is probably the cash, or we say at that 900,000, we hope it appraises for 1520, and then they add 10 on top. Or even if it appraises at 800, we get 810. That's kind of how my thought process is on that one. Like because it's like one is yes, there is, but what is the most that's still, risky, but it still has some sort of cushion that it can. But again, that's just how I see it. That doesn't mean it's the right way. Final thoughts on that one. Because I know we got 2 more.
No one did an escalation, so if they were for real, if they were for
Oh, don't
real,
worry. There's coming. There's one coming.
I mean,
There's
I'm
one
saying
coming.
on this one, if they was, you know, I mean, because they
Oh,
could
if there
say
was a-
15 million. You right? You can just throw a number out
That's
just to
what I'm
win the
saying.
deal. 35 million, right? Because
And
it sounds good.
yeah.
Where's
and
the
that-
escalation? Let's get an escalation on, and then we have some.
And then does the escalation still retain appraisal, right?
right,
There's a lot of variables that
right,
we look at.
escalation and gap, right?
Exactly. So then we have to see, like, you know, sure, if the 1 million, that may help the appraiser say, I'll give them 900. But what if they don't? Then it goes to anything. I mean, I'm hoping that I can get at least $15,000 to $20,000 bump. But if I don't, which one would make the most sense, right? Okay. Are we good with that one? Any questions on this one? Okay.